Hey, sweet girl. Nope, okay. Hey, kia ora, Helen from Second Your Life from Surprise in Arizona. Hope you're having a super fantastic, sparkling day. I'm trying something new and seeing if the internet works in here. We moved the box back to the kitchen and we seem to be doing okay. So, welcome to Before the Dirt Nap. Welcome to Before the Dirt Nap, number 1402. Tackling boxes. 402. That means that we are 59 days away from celebrating 4 years of daily lives / podcasts that changed over time. So welcome. We have had a day of tackling boxes. I did a video this morning showing what we had to do in the kitchen today. I did an update live on that. And here I am to sum up the day. So my little 30-minute nap. So first of all, there are a lot of boxes in the kitchen. We had a total now of 7 that were moved out of the kitchen because they were not, 5 that were moved out of the kitchen because they were not kitchen or family room related. 2 that got moved over to by where the TV's going because it's all part of the sound system and stuff. It's got the receiver and the DVD player and all of that sort of stuff in there. I've got a box in the bedroom that's got to be dragged out down the hallway all the way into the family room because it's got the speakers in it. But we're not worrying about the bedroom today. Today was all about kitchen and family room. I did have a lamp in there that we had hooked up to the light switch, but we couldn't get it to work yesterday because the bulb was blown. So we ordered the new bulb because it's a very special double tube thing that goes in there. If you have an OTT light, OTTLITE, then you'll understand there's a very specific bulb you've got to have. So we ordered that today, it got delivered today, and now it works. Yay! So we have light in the family room. Not the fan or this thing that gets fixed on Monday. But some of the fun things that we did come up with, they've got little stories behind them all. So this piece of pottery is a piece that I made in my art class when I was in middle school and when I was 11. We call them intermediate in New Zealand, but maybe you guys call it middle school. So intermediate school art class, I was 11 years old when I made this. I'm now 56. Do the math, how old this is. And it is still in perfectly good condition. Now, the idea behind this piece is it was supposed to be, I got very ambitious about what I was going to build out of clay. And this was supposed to be the lid. Unfortunately, we didn't get enough time to do that. So I thought, well, I'll turn it into a dish of some sort. So I started smoothing out this piece here. Then we got told, okay, you need to tools down. Now we need to do the glazing and put bits of glass in there for melting. So this here is a pool of glass in the middle here that melted down. Don't ask me why I chose the colors I chose, but I did. And so from that day forward, this has become, and I can see some, it's showing a little wear and tear on here where the color is not very thick over the area. But this thing has been around since I was 11, and my mum would serve up my dessert, and this was my dessert dish. So whenever we had dessert for dinner, this is the dish that my mother would give it to me in. And so it survived a lot, and it's still going. So what was it? 56 minus 11 is 45 years. So this thing's 45 years old. Dang. There's another piece that I'm going to be super excited to show you when I find it, because that piece I made when I was 4, the other piece that I'm waiting on. So yeah, you'll have to wait for that one to be uncovered because I don't know if it was in the kitchen. I'm trying to remember if it would be in a kitchen box or something else. We did have a casualty. It was a pie dish that I got for free when I became a life member of the American Cooking Club. That was back when we were in Virginia. And it was at the bottom of a box. The bottom of the box was not damaged. The top of the box, however, was damaged, but every piece that was in there was perfectly fine, except for this pie dish on the bottom. Tell you, they make some strong stuff out there. Then I came across some pieces of woodwork that my dad had done. They were like this little vase here where you can put like a sprig of rosemary or lavender or something like that into there. Some of them he put on the bottom. This is made out of Remu, and he did this one in 2003. and it's just a little dish, but it's made out of rimu, which is a New Zealand native wood. And you can't, if I remember correctly, they are protected trees, and you can only use reclaimed rimu. So if you've got somewhere like, there was a woman in New Zealand who went out to buy a pound of butter and ended up buying a church. And they were going to pull this church down. So she had it very carefully disassembled and moved to her property, where she built a house out of it. And then my dad signed it on the bottom there. It says Remu, and that's his initials, RE03. This is another piece that he did. My dad was very good with woodworking. He gave it up a few years ago, which kind of disappointed me a little bit, but he said he'd lost interest in it. So I'm like, okay. But he's been working with wood all of his life as a hobby. And so he's a very good carpenter and that sort of thing as well. This one is another Remu piece, but he didn't put the year on this one. But you can see it has beautiful character, grain, and everything else in there. Excuse me. He also did, this one's got a hole in it. Never noticed that before. That one has a hole in it. Interesting. This one's got character. This is also Remu. Oh, there's another hole down here too. So there's this hole up here. And I don't know if you can see the daylight through. This one here is another little hole. Excuse me. A lot of dust today. So a lot of coughing going on. A lot of dust. Lots of drinking of water to help soothe the throat. I've got some Manuka honey drops, which have been helping as well. This one he did in 0304. It's got written on the back. Maybe March of 04. But again, this is Remu. So you can see the beautiful, it has beautiful grain. It comes up really cool. I think, if I remember correctly, these Remu pieces came off an old church pew that was made out of Remu. I have no idea what wood this is. I am looking at the grain of it and suspecting it may also be Remu. But this is beautiful platter that he did. Dad was very good with the woodwork. She didn't give it up, but if he lost interest in it, he lost interest in it. He wasn't going to do it anymore. But when we were down in New Zealand in 2006, my dad took my husband down into his workshop and got bread on the lathe, which was amazing. I mean, I went down there to watch and take pictures of it, and I got banished upstairs. I wasn't allowed to see what he was making. And all my dad said is he's doing very well. But this was done in 06, and he made this little goblet. This is the very first piece that Brad turned. He made this little goblet. I have no idea what the wood is because he doesn't have written on here what the wood is. But my dad was very impressed with Brad's skills on the lathe. That he had never done anything like this in his life, and this was the very first piece he made, and polished it all up. I think they put walnut oil on these. Which reminds me, I must get some to polish these bits of wood up. Yeah, this was the very first piece that Brad made. And I was so proud of him because it was the first time he'd ever been on a lathe. And so he made this piece. Then he comes back, and then the next night he comes up. And again, I got banished from the thing. And this is Matai, which is a New Zealand native wood as well. We have some really cool native woods in New Zealand. And he made this bolt. This was his second project. He did it all himself with I've got a piece of hair in there. So he made it all himself with underneath my dad's guidance. So I'm very proud of him for this piece as well. You see, 06, Matai. But yeah, he made this the second night. So, and this was all under my dad didn't do anything. He just told Brad what to do, and Brad did. And these are the two pieces he made. And Brad really enjoyed it. But it wasn't until the about end of 2007 when I said, well, you enjoyed it so much. Why are you not doing a class in this? And he's like, oh. So we'd just gotten like the continuing education / night school stuff that you can go through and do different classes on. I've done one on drawing, and I did one with drawing. I says, look, there's a wood turning one here, and it's in Spring. And we were living in Centerville at the time, and this one was in Springfield, so it would actually be on his way home from work. I says, look, you can work till this time, then drive over to the school, do your 3-hour class, because it was once a week for like 10 weeks or something. Do your class and then come home. And he was like, oh, I can do that. I said, yeah, you can. And so So he enrolled in the class. It was due to start in February. And of course, January 21st, 2008, we found out he was diagnosed with cancer. And he was 2 weeks prior to the start of the class. And he says, I can't do the class with this stuff because I have no, and at that point we had no idea what was happening. None. We had just learned he had been diagnosed, he'd just been diagnosed with cancer. We had to figure out what's the game plan. We had to go see specialist after specialist, get scans done and all this sort of stuff. So I called up the school and explained the situation to them, and they very graciously said fine and refunded everything. And I was kind of annoyed because it was something he was really, really looking forward to, and he never got to do. So these are the only 2 pieces that I have that Brad has ever turned as wood turning. And my dad, who had been doing wood turning for a lot of years, said Brad had a natural talent for it. So those are the only 2 existing pieces that he has ever done, and his first and second piece, and great craftsmanship on it. And like I said, my dad didn't do anything except instruct Brad what to do, which chisel, I don't even know what the names are, which chisel tool thing he had to use at certain times, what to do to get the edging around here, what to do to get the, to create the inside of the bowl and everything, and, getting it all and sanding it and smoothing it and oiling it. So these are the 2 pieces Brad has ever turned. And it's a shame he never got to do any more because he did really good. I was really proud of him. And when I put the wooden pieces next to each other, unless you knew exactly which one were Brad's, you could simply say, well, this is the woodwork that and I have more bowls than my dad's as well. They just haven't been uncovered yet. I go, Brad did 2 of these pieces. My dad did the rest. Who did what? And I don't think you'd be able to tell because the craftsmanship was so good. So proud of him. But so finding those today was a real boost as well. There's been a lot of walks down memory lanes, as well as a lot of tears shed today as things were uncovered of that had meaning, like, Brad's wood turning, the only 2 pieces he ever did. But yeah. So it's been a bit of an emotional day today too, with all of the stories behind pieces that were uncovered. There's still more to come. I'm still sitting at 11 boxes open, by the way, for those of you who may have seen the live we did earlier today. But we do now have 7 boxes, 2 boxes in the family room with the electronic stuff in it, and another 5 boxes that have been distributed to their correct rooms to be unpacked at a later date. And I found another 2 boxes that I'm going to be moving tonight out of there. So I'm just going to go through the boxes that are there, and anything that doesn't say kitchen or family room or electronics on it is going to get moved to whatever, they may have to be split open to see which rooms they go into, but they'll be moved tonight. So I know exactly how many kitchen boxes I have left. And then tomorrow we'll tackle the rest of the kitchen boxes. But it's been a really cool day. And the box that I found the other day that had Brad's Planet of the Apes vest in, I mean, that was huge to find that box. That was just amazing. There were all sorts of cool stuff in there. And those of you who have heard me talk about Strengths Finder, there are 34 different strengths that everybody has, and my number 32 is focus. Out of all the lists, that's right down near the bottom is focus. As many of you have seen, that I tend to wander off track at times and have to pull myself back because of lack of focus. And what was really funny is that when I found out that was my 32nd strength out of 34, I started laughing. And my boss at the time turned and says, "Why are you laughing?" I said, "I happen to have a football jersey." I should have put it down. I happen to have a football jersey at home. I said, it's a Disney football jersey, and it's got a picture of Goofy on the front getting ready to throw the ball, and the number on the jersey is 32. She just cracked up laughing. But whenever we were sitting in meetings and stuff and I'd start wandering off, she'd slam the table and go, "Helen, 32, Helen, 32. This is her way of telling me, "Come on, get back on track. You need to focus." So I found that jersey was in that box with Brad's Planet of the Apes Fest. And then as I went down, there was at one point I had bought him a USC, an official USC jersey, number 10, and got it to fit him. And he loved wearing that whenever any USC games are on. He would put that on, and he was USC, University of Southern California, and anything to do with USC. He absolutely loved, and he loved wearing that jersey every single time that they were playing, and he would sit there in his jersey to support the team. So that jersey was in there. There was another one in there, which was a Redskins jersey, which had Brahms on the back and the number 98. Now, the story behind that jersey, and there's also another one which will be with my wedding dress, wherever that is, that has a Baltimore Ravens jersey that has Brahms and 98 on the back. And you're probably going, what's the story? The story is that friends of ours who are huge Pittsburgh Steelers fans got married, and they wanted you to show up in your favorite football jersey for their wedding. And the bride and groom were dressed in Pittsburgh Steelers uniforms, one away, one at home, and her bouquet was a football. It was the coolest theme. And they got married on the 50-yard line at a local high school, and we had and they had everything all set up there. Everything was football themed, and his nephew turns up in it was a British football club jersey, and I can't remember which team it is, but in the UK, football is what you guys here in the States call soccer. And I thought that was a brilliant, it was brilliant. But what we did is that we got and you could get them with, your own names on them, numbers, whatever. So we got the Redskins because Brad was a big Redskins fan. And I got the Ravens only because I like their uniform. I'll tell you this, when it comes to picking, when you're doing horse racing or football teams or any team thing, I look at their uniform. I look at what the jockey's wearing, and if it's like set colors based on what lane you're in, then that's out the window. But I look at the name of the horse. If I like the name of the horse, it gets picked. It's as simple as that. If it's got purple in its uniform, it will get picked as well. But when it comes to doing, and this goes right back into New Zealand when we used to have the rugby league pools and things like that. I would always I would go by the name of the team or the color of their uniform. If I didn't like their name of the team, of either team, then I'd look to see what color uniforms they're wearing and choose that way. I've always done that. So I had the Baltimore Ravens because they have a purple jersey. And so I put Brahms 98, which is the year we got married, on it. And Brad had a Redskins jersey, which had Brahms 98 on it as well. And so that was how we did our thing for that wedding. So I found his Redskin jersey that has Brahms 98 on it. And somewhere around, probably with my wedding dress, is the Ravens one. Also in there too was 2 robes of Brad's. One was one that we had purchased from, which is a nice thick one. And one was one I'd actually sewn for him. I'd actually handmade that one for him. And then, of course, there was that Planet of the Apes vest in there. And there was something else in there. Oh, there was a couple of jackets of mine that were in there as well. And but I noticed that the robes hadn't gotten taken down to the bedroom. They were part of the pile in the kitchen. So I picked them up and I started walking down, and they still had Brad's smell on them. And so we took them down. They still had the hangers on them, and so we got to hang them up. And but they still smell of Brad. That was a smell that was something I hadn't experienced in a long time. He's been gone 5.5 years, and those robes of his still had his smell on them. So they're now hanging in the closet with the rest of his stuff. So now if I need to smell Brad, I can go smell his robes, which surprised me that they still smelled so strongly of him. So I think his spirit might have had something to do with that today too. So it's been an emotional roller coaster day to day of uncovering things and finding things, like the wood turning, my little pottery experiment when I was 11. Wait till you see the one I did when I was 4. I have one that's on 4, and I don't know if it's still in one piece. I haven't come across the box with it in yet, but I still remember making that one. So we'll definitely have it. It's pink, and it's a vase. They just gave us like mason jars, and we had this clay stuff, and we picked a paint color to go into the clay stuff, and I picked a red, and it turned out being more pink. And then once we'd smoothed it all on there, we put shells on it, and some of the shells are broken over the years, but the jar, last I saw it, was still fully intact, and I made that when I was 4, and I still have it. My parents also have at their place a little step stool, little wooden step stool that I made when I was 11. That one was done in woodworking class. So there's all this stuff that keeps popping up. It's awesome. I love it. It's like walks down memory lane when you open things, and you got to take time to honor the memories. So that's probably why it's taken so much to get through the boxes that we have, because there was taking time to pause, honor the memories of the items that I have, and just thinking of the stories behind them. It's been great. So that's been my day. So, and then we took a 30-minute nap, which turned into a 2-hour nap. I recall the timer going off, and I just rolled over onto the other side there, so I could, because Zeffie was laying in her bed on the bed, and gave her some scratches. And the next thing I know, I wake up and it's almost 5 o'clock, and I was like, oops. So, but we've had protein shakes since then, and we're trying to figure out what to do for dinner tonight, because I haven't done any shopping yet. So who knows what we'll end up with for dinner. But that's my story for today with tackling the boxes. We're going to tackle more tomorrow. I try to wake up each morning and get at least a couple out of the way as part of my starting my day and everything else. So that's it from us for today. Go out, have a super fantastic sparkling day, and we'll catch you guys back here tomorrow evening at 6 p.m. Pacific. Hei konara.